Hello everyone, this is Christina from 2020. Thank you for joining us today. This will be a series of events that we plan to tackle throughout the year on ideal spaces. For this webinar, be the inspiration. Don't miss a key step in the consumer journey. And what that means to us is basically we're trying to help you get a better understanding based on research and our findings and our market and industry expertise, how retailers and manufacturers play a key role in not only the buying process of a large kitchen remodel or a bath remodel, but also how important it is for retailers and manufacturers to adapt to what happens before that. So all throughout the consumer journey, in the inspirational part of the journey, how important it is for you guys to play a role in that. We've invited our presenter, Mark McGillicuddy, who is our Director of Strategic Marketing at 2020. He's based out of the UK. He has been with us with 2020 for about 15 years, and he performs extensive market research for our online solutions, and thankfully he'll be sharing some of his research with all of us today. And myself as well, Christina Karagianis. I've been with 2020 for 20 years, and I've gone from customer service to sales in our professional tools, such as 2020 Design, to our manufacturing solutions, and now I've been on the online solutions team for a couple of years now. Mark is going to be presenting some very interesting key findings that he's discovered throughout his extensive research based on consumer and technology trends, so how consumers are shopping and how the market is influenced by that. Then we'll be talking about the customer journey and how to adapt to it. And on that note, I will let Mark McGillicuddy take it over from here. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much. So hello and welcome to all of those who are joining us in the webinar. So what we wanted to do is take this opportunity to share with you guys what we're seeing in the retail marketplace, whether that's from our research and our view of customer journeys, and also sharing what we're seeing in published research around the world from the retail and consumer markets. So we're looking at how these trends and changes in the consumer approach to research and purchasing will affect the way that they want to engage with retailers in their large ticket purchases. These research documents that we're referring to are publicly available, and we're happy to share the links to the source material following the call, following the webinar. So the headline topics for today are the consumer trends, how these are changing the kitchen and bath industry. We're talking about the technology trends and what these mean for retailers, and then how retailers can play a bigger part in this customer journey and how they can influence the customer journey and what it can do to their bottom line. Later, what we'll also share is how we're using these trends to deliver our solutions that meet the needs and expectations of the customers across the world, and how we see those different trends across the markets and how we can support those. So we're going to take you through a walkthrough of a simple scenario of how our solution today is being used to support that customer journey. So first of all, consumer trends. So we're going to touch on what's happening in home improvement, what's happening in housing availability, how it's linked to the current housing market, the effect of home prices and the increasing age of new homes or homes, and then on to our ways of how consumers are researching online ideas and inspiration before they actually visit a store. So what's happening in the US? So the US is spending more and more on home improvements, and a contributing factor to this is the combination of aging homes and shrinking availability. So American spending on residential construction projects, from the pouring of foundations across the home improvement, has just had its biggest 3-month period since 1994. So the report issued by the US Commerce Department did show a near 3% drop in April 17 over the prior month, but this spending was still 32% higher than it was 12 months ago, and that's the strongest uplift in the market since January 2000. So these trends in home age and availability that we see from the Zillow Group show that home values continue to regain the value lost since 2007. and that after several years of up and down swings, that prices are now starting to stabilize. The lower line in this graph also shows how slowly the sales of new homes have been to get back to the levels of 10 years ago. We also see in many reports that the total inventory of homes for sale at any one time nationwide is extremely low, and as yet still showing no signs of returning to the previous levels. These factors, combined with a decrease in the amount of new home construction, has meant that the age of sold homes has nearly doubled in the last 10 years. The result of these trends has meant we have a housing market where people are choosing to stay longer in their homes, which will need maintenance and remodeling, and also at some point to suit the changing needs of the aging population, and also the fact that with available housing stock getting older, along with the increase in house prices, this has changed the profile of home buyers from looking at new build homes to now looking at older housing with some need of renovation and refurbishment. So the impact of rising house prices and incomes combined with this aging housing stock are all contributing to today's strong home improvement market. While at the same time the shortage of affordable housing in much of the country is making the stock of older homes an attractive option for buyers willing to invest in remodeling. In 2015, spending in home improvements, maintenance, repairs reached a high of $340 billion according to the estimates from the Joint Centre of Housing Studies. The housing and demographic trends continue to support an increase in home improvement market over the next decade, with an increasing proportion of older homeowners accounting for more than 3/4 of this forecasted growth. Owners under the age of 35 living in homes built before 1980 invested about a third more in renovations in 2015 than the average for all homeowners in their age group, and 16% more than the national average. And if we look at the DIY side of home improvements, research from Venveo on the DIY marketing trends has said that the majority of DIYers have lived in their homes for more than 11 years. The impact of how long these DIYers have been in these homes is reflected in the type of the projects they then take on and the reasons why they do them. Most of these are likely to be the bigger type of projects, such as kitchen and bath remodels, willing to take longer to get the back return on investment because they're going to live there for a while, or plan there to be here for a while longer. So how will these home improvement spends be split across the potential categories? The House and Home Survey for 2017 said this year is on track to be another boom year for home renovations. More than half of the homeowners on House plan to continue or start renovations in 2017, and that homeowners plan to spend on average $27,000 on home renovations in 2017, 4% higher than the planned spend reported in 2016. So besides spending more, these remodeling and renovating homeowners are planning to hire professionals to help them with the projects. If we look at the profile of the homeowner type against the average spend as reported by House, the report shows that the baby boomers and the long-term homeowners continues to spend roughly 3 times more than the millennial homeowners. These findings back up their previous observations that one of the largest increases seen this year are with the renovators who bought their first home in 2016, spending 22% more in 2016 from a $27,000 average up to a $34,000 average. We can also see that millennials invested 7% more in the homes in 2016 compared to 2015. Another topic of interest is the shift to smaller kitchens. The report found that roughly half of remodeled kitchens are less than 200 square feet, but the spend on these kitchens has grown year over year. So the average spend for a major remodel, which for this report is defined by replacement of at least cabinets and appliances, increased by 6% for smaller kitchens, while declining by 6% for the larger kitchens in 2016 compared to that of 2015. So, what do all these home remodelers, renovators and DIY enthusiasts are out there use to research for information and look for ideas? Well, now searching the internet is the norm. According to Zillow, the real estate website, over 1/3 of homeowners starting their home improvement projects online. In its survey of US adults, 39% said they found inspiration for such projects online, and over 7 in 10 use the internet for information, and 7 in 10 use the internet for information or for help in starting a project, and 25% for researching for a specific brand. And we'll talk in a couple of minutes about this mix of devices that we can see here used for research, the comparison between mobile, laptop, tablet, etc. Just a quick snapshot of the number of users in the US. So online, the 88% of the US population are users of the internet, and 66% of the population are active on social media. When we look at the mix of devices used in the US, 75% are using laptops or desktop computers. 72% of the population are using smartphones of one type or another, and 42% are using tablets. And the numbers here show again the percentage of users who are searching and purchasing online. Something we noted from this research was that the number of users who are then making their purchase using a laptop or desktop was much greater than that using mobile. And again, in a few slides, we'll go into a bit more on this finding. So where do consumers go to research home improvement ideas and inspiration? So companies like Pinterest and Houzz are the leaders, along with sites like Porch, Retro Renovation, Remodelista, and DIY Network. Also, along with a multitude of blogs and YouTube channels. So, for example, people like Bob Vila are a great source of ideas and reference. Just to share some statistics on Bob Vila and his online presence. So his blog has a reach of 2.5 million. Facebook, he's got 150,000 users. Twitter, he's got 1,070,000 followers. YouTube, he's got over 40,000 YouTube views a day. And on Pinterest, he's got 220,000 followers. And you don't realize how absorbing these sites are until you realize how much time has gone by. And from going through the research for this webinar, you realize how much time I've spent on these sites and how much time I've got to make up. So they are very absorbing places for research and information. Other statistics on the big sites. So if we look at the numbers of users on Houzz, it's reported that Houzz has over 25 million unique monthly active users. And that the users are between the ages of 25 and 54 make up 72% of these users. So for an example, if you go to houzz.com and you search for kitchen design ideas, you'll get nearly 2 million design results, of which 1.5 million are based in the USA. And if you look in the Houzz discussion, again for kitchen design, you get 72,000 results, of which 65,000 results are in the USA. And that's 600 up from when I did the screen grab a couple of days ago. So very dynamic, very active sites. If we look at Pinterest, another source of inspiration, it's reckoned that 31% of adult internet users are using Pinterest. And they have up to 100 million monthly active users. And it's also reported that 71% of Pinterest users are women. So using this type of sharing and collaborative media can significantly impact on retail sites. A recent study by KPMG says that 71% of retail executives believe that social media is having a significant impact on their business, the highest result of all technology-related trends polled. So giving the consumer the tools to share their ideas and concepts with friends and family so as to collaborate and share, to exchange comments and ideas is another important part of providing effective socializing services online. So in the process of sharing their ideas, their designs, the consumers become unwitting marketing ambassadors for that retailer. So the importance of digital presence along with an effective, relevant consumer journey is undeniable. But all product categories are not created or shopped equally. And we see that consumers use digital very differently by category. And that the value in supporting these specialized digital experiences is significant. Consider the impact of the digital influencers seen as across these different channels. In this research, the Deloitte Digital research said that the influence is highest in electronics and appliance stores at 58%. But the influence on furniture and home furnishings is significantly increased and is estimated as high as 56%, and home improvement and gardening supply come in at 42%. So the more and more the consumer is defining their own journey, and more often they're doing this at a category level. So how a consumer gets inspired and informed to select clothing will differ greatly from how they would want to choose furniture or paint. Understanding of customer design, of the understanding of consumer behavior at this level provides for a better understanding of how shoppers are using key digital decision points in their journey. Retailers should be aware of which moments along the customer's purchase journey are highly influenced by digital. So for the home improvement, the critical stages in the journey seen here are the find inspiration, browse and research, and the select and validate. We'll talk more later about how we've identified the critical stages of the consumer journey along their design path and how we intend to support their needs. So there's some results of a Retail Week survey in the UK which took a sample of 1,000 consumers. And they're very enlightening and reveal the emergence of a home and leisure consumer who does not think twice about mixing channels to research and complete a purchase. So one standout figure is that a fewer than a third of shoppers will say they'll primarily shop in store only for home and leisure items, with a majority saying they'll use a combination of in-store and online. Even with high-value items, the barriers to buying over the internet are slowly being broken down. Although 56% of consumers said they'd never buy a sofa online, 44% said that they might do so, and that figure rises to over 60% for those shoppers between the ages of 18 and 34. Interestingly, more than two-thirds of those surveys think an online presence is necessary when buying a big-ticket item, highlighting the evolving customer journey, which often begins with research online before finalizing the purchase in store, or vice versa. Indeed, a retailer's own website is the preferred means of initially researching products, with just 26% of consumers saying that in-store was their preference. In fact, friendly and helpful associates in-store are the biggest reason for store visits. So when we talk about the technology trends and what they mean for retailers, so we talk about what is Retail 4.0. So with Retail 4.0, we've moved from the first self-service stores. 2.0 is all about the superstores, the hyperstores, through to e-commerce, Amazon, eBay, all the online. Now for Retail 4.0, retailers must innovate to follow the speed of the market changes. So borderless storefronts, online, offline, fully connected, omni-channel. So the retail industry has moved from multi-channel to omni-channel, and now making this big step forward to the full integration of all touch points with their consumers. So the goal is the creation of a fully personalized and seamless shopping experience for every purchasing channel. So the retailer must be able to create this unique and original experience that will work across all channels, from the physical stores to the social network to the e-commerce and other channels. Today's consumers love these digital interactions. Many retailers in the fashion industry are using the idea of community as a marketing tool, online platform where consumers can interact with other shoppers and the brand itself. So they're improving their brand's visibility and in gathering other useful feedback to be employed to strengthen those consumer relations. In short, the key factor in retailer is not so much what the channel is, whether it's store, website, whatever, but how they're all used together in an integrated way. So this year, 52% of all US retail sales will be influenced by or occur online, but 94% of all retail sales will still happen in store. Digital transactions for home improvement products are still a small proportion of the whole, albeit one that is growing rapidly. But these digital channels play an important role in the research, planning, and shopping phases of home improvement, however and wherever the final sale occurs. As in almost every vertical, the path to purchase is increasingly a mix of digital and real-world experiences. So we're living in a multi-platform world, and that's changed the way we interact. So 66% Americans own at least 2 digital devices, so a smartphone or a desktop or a tablet, and 36% own all 3. 88% of the millennials have a smartphone at their side day and night, and 85% of adults between 18 and 49 use multiple devices at the same time. So iPlanese, who are a provider of mobile apps for home improvement, polled US homeowners about how they plan to use phones and PCs for future home remodeling. Nearly all, 95%, said they intended to use a PC to find design ideas, while 65% they would use a smartphone for some of their research. However, when researching services and products, 2/3 of respondents would use either device. So what do we understand? What we wanted to understand was what devices do consumers use when researching for information about their projects online. What we see is that they're using the device most suited to the purpose. Some would say mobile use is for short, sharp bursts of research while taking a coffee break, while for more detailed mining for information, you're more likely to use the more powerful tools that come with a desktop or a laptop. The effect of all this consumer research has meant that 57% of salespeople now believe consumers are less dependent on salespeople during the sales process. And only 29% of people want to talk to a salesperson to learn more about a product, whereas 62% would actually would consult a search engine. This research from Comscore reveals an interesting and relevant pattern to the platform being used, such as by time of day and for what purpose. So when looking at the percentage of each platform's daily impressions hour by hour, the use of desktop is more evenly distributed across the day, while smartphones and tablets generate more distinct morning and evening peaks. The use of the tablet in the evening is interesting, with the rise of second screen watching while watching your TV becoming the new norm. Research have found that 70% people are using a mobile device while watching TV. This rises to 87% between 16 and 30-year-olds, and peaks between 6 and 9. People prefer to check emails, use instant messaging or text while they're watching television. When it comes to news consumption, mobile devices are there, they're always on. So this profile shows a flatter, more always-on profile for these mobile devices, although smartphone and tablet consumption still peak towards the evening. And then when it comes to use by platform for retail, we can see that this profile shows more prominent peaks on the larger screens, both desktop and tablet. And these tablet devices are showing one of their largest and longest evening peaks for the retail category, but with very limited usage for the rest of the day. And interestingly, the use of the desktop retail consumption peaks during the mid-morning period. So what are we learning, and how is this empowering the consumer? So the initial opportunity for a retailer to provide inspiration, information, and help the consumer make the decision has now become disconnected from the physical in-store experience. Consumers are shopping differently. An increasing number of consumers are already prepared as to what they want by the time they've reached a retailer's door. They will have specific personalized requirements in mind, provided by multiple sources of information that they trust, which are more often not controlled by the retailer. They have filtered out what's not relevant to them, and they'll be using multiple devices, whether you're researching at home, using tablets in store, or sharing with friends. And they're using social media to validate what they're getting told. So it seems from published surveys that the degree to which consumers value the tradition of only using in-store shopping and browsing experience is rapidly decreasing. They want transparency, and this raises the importance of how retailers leverage digital while creating a more valuable in-store experience. So how can retailers play a bigger part in this consumer journey? They need to be engaging with the consumer early in the journey with the right tools and services, maximize value, capitalize on visitors to your website, and then who are the new disruptors in this space? So with the majority of project planning times of under 3 months, the consumer needs to be engaged early in the journey. and they want to be prepared with more information than ever before. So retailers should look for opportunities to connect with these new self-sufficient consumers early in the journey with the right tools and services. This engagement can be integral with the in-store shopping experience through in-store kiosks or free Wi-Fi so the consumer can use their own devices, and supported by sales associates ready to engage and assist with their specialized knowledge, or providing avenues for gaining and earning that consumer confidence. While nearly 50% of consumers who receive sales associates assistance on their last store trip would prefer to have been able to perform the same action themselves on their own device, this doesn't eliminate the need for sales associates who can act as experts. And the remaining 50% of consumers do value in-person advice. And as I said before, the friendly and helpful associate are one of the biggest reasons for in-store visits. So how do you improve customer engagement, such as capturing their email address for their registration? We have to take every opportunity to capitalize on the value that you give customers to your website and engage gently to increase that email capture by offering consumers a service that they want to use to save their ideas, their images, design ideas, style choices. And to access this, all they've got to do is complete a simple registration. However, consumers are looking for ways to engage with a retailer that guides them along their path, assisting them in the decision of their final purchase. If these solutions are scattered across multiple pages, then the perceived value provided is vastly decreased. So we need to work to educate and inform the consumer as to the potential for their purchase, getting the consumer to think about their wants, not just the needs, and encourage the exploration of alternative ideas and options that allows the retailer to differentiate themselves. These digital offerings can persuade customers to spend more. In fact, shoppers who bought more while using digital said they spent 25% more than what they had originally budgeted for. And we talked about the moments that matter. So before we were talking about this customer journey, the customer shopping journey. So when the customer identifies this trigger or inspiration for their purchase, from this stage the consumer starts to be in research as to try and match their ideas and their inspirations to a set of products and suppliers that are out there to match this need. They then start collecting information on the options open to them. To succeed, you need to find ways to compete for that position in the process and early as possible in the journey. And it should focus on delivering a customer experience that play on how customers are shopping for the products, not just pointing customers who purchase. What they're really looking for is inspiration and information. So the consumer journey to purchase is not just about the buy button anymore. And when they're looking for inspiration, they're looking for information from a variety of sources. That might be family, might be friends, might be blogs, might be social media or traditional media. In fact, 70% of consumers are now leading their own shopping journey, becoming aware of products through means outside of a retailer or brand communications, and only 30% are getting their original inspiration from a retailer or brand's marketing. When they browse and research, they're looking to take the inspiration and they're starting to look at the actual products and services that meet their needs. And 67% of shoppers browse a retailer site before actually going into the store. And nearly 60% of them are using search engines for this browsing and research activity. And then finally, when the consumer is going to select and validate, they continue to narrow down their consideration set, eventually reducing the choices to only a few options. They then make that selection and then take the choice of the product that then best meets their need. So as an example of what we've been talking about in this webinar, companies are looking at different ideas and trialing different concepts. And what's happening today is that Nibiru are launching a pilot for a new store concept for their first omni-channel store. So Nibiru is one of Europe's leading kitting specialists with some 20 brands across Europe. And this new store concept is based on their learnings from consumer insight and is all around making it easier for the consumer to get started and make purchase decisions. The biggest takeaway from their research is that the consumer wants to be empowered. They want to use collaboration tools both inside the store and online. And this will be enabled to consumers to do more on their own while simultaneously having access to the expertise of the kitchen designers whenever they need it. This first test store is much smaller than a regular kitchen store, which enables a very centralized city location and is designed to provide the sort of welcoming, inspiring environment with a studio feel. And the intention is to encourage the consumer to stay longer, experience the products in new ways, whether digitally or physically. So later this summer, they'll be opening up a test store in London, and then a couple of months later, there'll be one in Copenhagen. And then finally, let's look at the disruptors. Some say this is where the e-commerce click meets the brand brick. So the disruptors are the people that are changing the consumer behavior and make us rethink about what we thought we knew about retail, opening up new possibilities for customers, for businesses, all focused on delivering that simple, convenient, but also personal and engaging purchase experience. It's important to keep an eye on what's happening with these guys. They may be at the leading or the bleeding edge, and even though some of these ideas won't be around for a long while, others may well be very successful. And then, of course, we've got the leading example of Amazon, the everything store, because of their vast selection of products. But it still has a few holes in its lineup like furniture. So a channel that's always been dominated by brick and mortar retailers, but now Amazon is starting to look at taking a share of this $150 billion market. And there are good reasons for Amazon to expand this furniture offering, as US online furniture sales grew 19% in 2015. Which according to Barclays makes it one of the biggest, strongest categories in e-commerce. And now Amazon is reported to be considering opening furniture stores that may use augmented or virtual reality technology. The furniture and home appliance it is exploring would offer the kinds of products and services that shoppers are reluctant to buy over the internet sight unseen, so as the report has said. So this category is already one of the fastest growing channels in Amazon. And the company has an estimated 17% in market share of home furnishings already. So that's a quick summary of where we believe we are in the marketplace. So on that, I'm going to say thank you and hand you back to Christina.
Thank you, Mark. So my main takeaway on what Mark's been saying is obviously if I'm a marketer, I'm thinking of ways to engage the customer on the website and for them to not skip to another website, but how to keep them. So based on the merge of technology and market research, Ideal Spaces has come to life. So on that note, I will say thank you very much, wishing you a great rest of the day, and thanks again, Mark and the 2020 team for helping, and thank you to all our customers. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.